of el salón, the chronicles. Oye, ladies of el salón, the chronicles. Escucha, ladies of el salón, the chronicles.
What up, mi gente? Sit back, relax, grab your cafecito, get ready to laugh, maybe cry, be inspired, and feel empowered.
You got a big booty.
Dímelo Linda, and we're back. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of our live podcast, now at our new home at DTF Radio, streaming live every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 via the DTF Radio app, and every Tuesday morning via Pandora, iHeart, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Follow us across all social media platforms and write us at exsalonchronicles@gmail.com. If our show is of value to you, please consider becoming a patron via Patreon to help the sustainability of El Salon Chronicles. Ladies, I'm Liz.
I'm Jay.
I'm Suli.
I'm Mari.
And I'm Bago.
What's
up, ladies?
Hey, we'll talk about
But I look at a Latino view over here, like, all right, ladies.
Yes.
So let's discuss.
Let's discuss.
Well, actually, I wanted to say something. It's not Tuesday mornings, it's Thursday mornings.
I was wearing my glasses when I read that, okay? I just want to say, it's a Tuesday night and every Thursday morning.
Blooper number one.
Blooper, okay.
Bloopers are cute.
I gotta get new glasses, apparently. Why are you always like the student, like the teacher's
Because
pet?
I'm
I
paying
know, she
attention.
red lines, she bleeds over everything.
Dude,
She's ready. She's like,
She
all
has that
right.
red pen over.
Time out.
She's ready to give you the check mark or the big fat X.
I know. She's like, this is spelled wrong. You can't do that.
Listen, Linda, you know, I
can never win, ever. I spelled your name
Ladies,
wrong.
ladies, you want a moment? You guys
horrible.
want
Yeah, we need to, because never mind you. We just invited you. Oh, by the way, in case anybody's wondering who this extra person is,
Hello.
it's the one and
Wanderers.
only Juan Bago.
Yay.
Clapping. Do the thing, legit. Do the thing.
Wait, let's do that again.
Okay, so in case you guys are wondering who the extra chica is
Hola.
the one and only Juan Bago from Latinos Out Loud.
Yes.
Okay, so that didn't work.
and the dinner.
And that's what happens when you do shit stuff.
And this is what
Oh,
happens.
there it is. Okay, there it is.
So we can clap.
I hear people cheering. All right, good, all right.
Yes.
So for the people, maybe two people who don't know who you are.
My cousin.
We'll live in the closet.
Tune in.
Alright, because en solamente tu casa te conocen.
Yeah.
¿Verdad?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a Cancerian.
Why are you touching your breast? Why are you doing
Oh,
that?
no, sorry.
You like
Subconsciously, I was
feeling-
like, why am I? Yeah.
Is that Freudian? Like,
Yeah. That's how I'm getting comfortable. I'm like,
You're twisting the nipple?
male nipples are underrated. No. So I
Do you have
am.
big nipples? Shut up!
It is.
I don't know. It's been a while since I went to the beach, but next time I go to the beach, I'll look at it and be like, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's not something that women usually be saying, wow, you have big
Yeah,
nipples.
so,
Yeah,
so you've never met me then, apparently. I have zero filter.
No, that's awesome.
I get in trouble all the time.
So I am a Dominican male with big nipples. I guess, I don't know, like I wear a lot of titles.
Yes.
I'm a podcaster now.
Latinos Out Loud.
Latinos Out Loud. I'm a writer, an actor, producer. I've done lots of them.
Wear
I've
many
done
hats.
blogs, I've done like marketing.
You're funny as hell.
Thank you. But now there's a lot of pressure to deliver. Yeah, I think I've worn a lot of hats throughout the year, but my main focus is comedy, and I really enjoyed. So I think I'm like a comedy producer. So I've created, like Vagueando, I founded Room 28. I've done a lot of sketch comedy. So yeah, I mean, I don't like to say I'm a comedian because I've never done stand-up. I've hosted, but as far as like, I'm a comedy guy. Like that's my passion.
Well, you've won some awards.
Yes.
One in particular, the there was a conference for Hispanidad. What was it?
I think it was Hispanicized. I think our podcast
Hispanicized,
won.
yes.
I think we're gonna have to. They're doing it again this year, so they're gonna have that category again. So we're gonna be the defending podcast. So this year is gonna be a new podcast.
We're coming.
Yeah. So yeah, we won, and then we also won another best comedy podcast in Latino podcast awards. So it was a really good year last year for
Well
us.
deserved.
The Latinos.
Yeah.
Your parodies on the Dominican culture are hysterical.
Well, thank you. I think part of that came from growing up in Connecticut and being the only Latino. So like when I came to the Heights and I was like, I wanted to do some storytelling, I kind of wanted to kind of introduce the mainstream, my point of view of Dominicans and how I see them. So
I love that. I just want to know what goes on in your head throughout the day. Like, do you just look at people and say, "Oh, I'm totally gonna write about that"? That right there is a story.
What's the creative process?
Well, I think I'm victim of consuming a lot. Meaning, I think when I go through the times where I'm not having social media, I do that because then I'll be on the train and I can't be on my phone and I'm just watching. Or if I go visit family or if I go away somewhere, I'm always observing humans. I think the best characters are not in the industry, right? Like actors.
Absolutely.
No, the best is when you go somewhere and you have a third cousin in DR that's a certain way.
And Dominican families are just hysterical.
Can you say that again? And it's like,
Yeah.
But it depends. Like right now I'm in the process of, I'm writing I'm working with Jamie Fernandez and I'm working on a couple of stuff, developing a world for some TV shows. So it's like I get in there, but I usually have my fix where I have to, like I'm working on a parody. I don't want to mention right now because I don't want to jinx it, but I'm working on a parody. And so my thought process and creativity is usually just observing. Like I think most comedians are like that. We just observe the world and then we take notes. I write it in my phone and then I end up either it's a sketch or it's a bit or something that we'll talk about.
And the world is a haven. Like you could sit in Central Park or anywhere and just people watch.
Well, I think every
Your
writer
style,
does
yeah.
that. Everybody that writes actually observes other people's situation, issue.
People are entertaining. I love sitting in the Heights and watching people.
People
Yes.
watching
When
stuff that-
Mamana first started, honestly, they had like $20 for brunch and it was like unlimited mimosas. We would all get there mad like 10 o'clock in the morning and sit there till 3.
That's
For
retarded. That's
20
crazy.
bucks.
Yeah.
I just sit outside and watch people. Because first of all, you said Dominicans are characters.
They are.
Like they just should give everybody a camera and everybody should have their
My
phone.
mom, the conversations, like my mom will call me, just with that alone, I have like a skit right there. She'll call me and she'll be like, "Hello, Suli. Hey, mami, ¿qué te está llamando?" And I'm like it's a shot, like
No,
I'm
it's
surprised.
fine.
And I'm like, yes, I know, mom, I have you on my phone. You don't have to tell me it's you. But Dominican parents are just hysterical.
My mom FaceTimes and she's like, "Mira, it's me." I'm like, "Mama, see." I get it. Like,
Right.
Now let me ask you, when you became a podcaster, how did you introduce that to your family? How did you get them to understand what you were doing? And
with a podcast.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so
yeah, so with my mother, all the siblings, we bought an iPad because my mother and my dad have over a year now. They moved to Santiago in DR. So she communicates with us FaceTiming and she has an iPad. So when I went to DR to visit her, I literally like subscribed and then I'll iMessage the episode. So for her, it's sort of like in her mind, it's like a radio show, right? So she'll listen to it. And then there'll be times I'll forget that my mom does listen to it. So I'm like, oh damn, I have to do some damage control. Mommy, tú sabes que yo digo eso? It's entertainment purposes, mommy. I don't do
Oh
that.
my God!
The
let me tell you
caveat.
something.
Vegan
I had that same issue when my father discovered social media. Because my father's on Twitter, Snapchat,
Holy
Instagram,
cow.
everything. My father, I think he even has a TikTok. Like seriously, my father's on everything.
Okay, so
And-
hold on a second. I have to stop you right there. Because at every session I have to learn something.
What's TikTok?
Exactly. Because you come out with some stuff. Like,
Okay, so TikTok is this, I don't know how new it is, but it's the rave amongst the younger generation.
Oh,
yes,
And what
yes.
they do is like they'll get a skit and they try to lip sync whatever is being said and they mimic whatever is being said and so they redo, it's like redoing whatever they
We'll show
see.
you.
Yeah.
okay, don't judge me.
It's
Don't judge me.
very
Okay.
We
It's
just
like-
gave them a plug. Okay, go ahead.
Because of how Instagram expanded to like a minute and for whatever now,
Okay.
and Vine is no longer there. There's a space. I mean,
I
I
knew
think
what Vine
16 seconds.
So proud.
But we have to be careful because it's a Chinese company and they're getting all these information.
I know.
So like the Chinese government eventually is gonna have all the information. All
Let
these
me
kids
tell
are
you
gonna
something.
go.
I just started getting Chinese robocalls.
I do too.
What the fuck is up with
Yes.
that?
I get
I
robocalls
get
from
them.
Slovenia.
That's because you're white.
The Chinitos are like, no, pass them on out to
We
that
have an
country.
ongoing
They're
thing
going
that
there.
I'm being discriminated against, by the way, by my own family here. So they say I have white privilege.
So I want to know about your father. What was it?
No, my
Because
father, and he shares the most inappropriate things. Like, I think that he doesn't understand that we can see that he's watching literal porn on Facebook. So he shared, and then he friended all of my friends too.
Oh my
And
Yeah,
it's just like,
I'm
I have to send everybody a disclaimer, like, don't judge me. My father's elderly, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Está
Like,
bien.
es el cuento.
So-
Elderly, yo lo voy a poner que oiga este podcast.
El podcast.
El podcast.
El podcast.
But I love it though. I think that's cool.
And every picture's taken from like nostril angle.
I know.
I've seen his nose hair way too
Yo,
many
I'm telling
times.
you, yo.
So listen, my mother has a smartphone and she swears she's gonna go take a class to learn. She doesn't get email. She doesn't do anything on this. She goes, pero yo voy a aprender. Usted me va a enseñar una clase. Mami, oh, you can barely dial the number right now.
Yes, it's crazy. No.
You have to
Yeah.
give it to them that at least they're embracing
they're
technology.
They're trying, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, on the other hand, he's had an iPhone for 2 years. He still hasn't activated it in and like he's a lost cause. Like at least my mom is putting the effort because she knows that's how she can communicate with us frequently. But my dad is like, nah. He's like he has a WhatsApp, but it's like barely used. Like he doesn't even use it.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes,
I
of
know
course.
you said that you're really not a comedian because you don't do stand up,
Yeah.
but you do have comedic aspect to the things that you do because
Mhm.
people do laugh with the skits that you do.
Yeah.
So do you find it that it's harder to be someone that's doing comedic skits as opposed to acting? Because to make a room full of people laugh, I think
Mhm.
it takes the right, you have to have that right chemistry.
Timing.
You do.
So
you do.
do you think that that's something that you have within you, that you just have that kind of gift that you can make people laugh, or is it with the material that you put together?
Well, I think like any comedian or a comedic person, it comes from pain, right? So I think that I was always growing up feeling that I was different anyways. I grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut, so I was only Latino. And so for me, it was something where trying to fit in was difficult because it was blonde hair, blue eye, everything. So for me, I already was standing out. So comedy for me was a way that
An outlet.
it was an outlet for me to bring people together. So that's a muscle. Like I think we all don't see it, but like we all have a muscle that we've been working all our lives. And for me, it's
Right.
been comedy, right? So it's, I have the ability, but when I was younger, I was cornier, funnier, 19, 20, high energy. I'm like, it's like relax. So as time has gone, now that I do it on a professional level, there's a science behind it. So there is the timing. The thing about comedy is, come on, like you probably have a different sense of humor than she does.
Right.
We all five of us
Some
probably
people
have different
are a
sense of
little bit
humor.
thinner. The skin is a little bit thinner.
Right. So like that's why it's sometimes hard because you could be really funny for 20% of people,
Right.
and the other 80 is like, nah, I'm sorry, because there's people that probably have dry humor. There's slapstick. So I think it is harder than actual acting. And if you've seen sometimes serious actors tend to try to jump into the comedy, it's not as easy.
doesn't
They'll
work.
say comedy is the
Yeah.
most difficult
It
one,
doesn't work.
and we've seen some brilliant comedic actors do serious roles and gotten Emmys and
Right.
not Tonys, but Oscars when they take a serious role. And look at Jamie Foxx. So
Yes.
you know that it's a thing where comedy is very difficult, but done correctly is made to look like it's easy. You know, so yeah, it's difficult.
I think it is.
And
Do you ever-
especially now, it's really difficult because of
Yeah.
the sensitivity. We have
Well, that's what I was
cancel
about to
culture.
ask you. Do you ever curb yourself in the things that you say? Do you ever think and say, maybe I shouldn't? It's funny, but
Right. I can't tweet like I used to.
Right.
I used to tweet and it's
Social
like,
media, it's like a curse.
Do you think people are more sensitive now?
like today I tweeted, somebody did, who was the Dominican president that like Trujillo? Someone tweeted something and then someone did like a Trujillo fan page, whatever. And I replied, I'm like, wow, you must have like ill boredom and time for you to create a page like that. And then people started jumping in. It's like, no, it's actually not that. That person's just anti-black. I'm like, dude, I get that's obvious.
Right.
But my point was, like, for you to have the time to create a page on Twitter like this, you have a lot of time.
Right.
Things get so dissected. So
People are very literal now, very,
even if you're gonna do a funny tweet, it's going to get so dissected.
Right.
So it's like, it's tough to do something like that. It's easier when you do a video and you do stuff because people understand it, but to do tweeting and doing stuff on social media, it's a very difficult time. I think it's shifting. I think the newer generation now understands is like that you can't be judged if your intentions are not there. I think a lot of times if you have bad intentions and you're trying to hurt, then you are going to be called out. But if it's a joke and it's coming from the right place, you can't be so ultra sensitive. Like it's just takes away out of it. And then there should be no comedy because you're always gonna offend somebody.
Right.
You know.
Which brings me to my other question. I'm sorry, how do you deal with social media and people that kind of come at you in a negative way? It's easier when people come at you with love. You appreciate that, but when someone comes with negativity and and they kind of put you down, how do you deal with that?
Delete.
Delete. That goes home with you.
I'm known in my circles as the troll. So I troll. So I troll trolls. So trolls.
You troll trolls.
I troll trolls. So like for example, I had a video Puerto Ricans versus Dominican, and it went viral. And on YouTube, imagine the comments could be ridiculous, and there were just people there. And like I literally was trolling them because at the end of the day, again, if your intentions is just to put down, I will. Because the thing is that the people do like a lot of times trolls will put something and it's a loaded, insult. So then I counter it and say, okay, papa, with not kindness. So I do kindness trolling, and then if they continue, they're like, all right. And I'm really good. I remember when I did it for Flama would hit me. I'm like, wow, you're really good at this trolling the trolls. And it's like pretty good because like my thing is if you hate the video so much, why you put a paragraph on how much you hate it? You invested that much time.
Exactly.
Like I would say thank you so much for taking 20 minutes of your busy time to write a long comment. That means a lot to me. So like I think for me, I don't recommend it, but I tend to troll trolls. It's a fun game, right?
I think we should do that. Like I think that would be a great way because it's kind of like almost making humor like out of it because some people take it personally.
Yes.
And instead of taking it personally, let's just turn it around. Let's just fuck with people and make it
Well,
funny.
I think on some occasions you've done it as well.
yo no quedo eso pecosas sin manos.
Oh, claro.
I like killing people with kindness, so
Yeah.
I like
I do the same thing. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck you, but thank you for taking the time to write.
with the big
I
okay
appreciate
smile.
it. Yes.
And
But-
typing on
Una sobadita.
Well, the reality is this. I mean, social media and negativity. Negativity travels a lot quicker than positivity, right? So,
That's unfortunate.
so when it comes down to doing social media too, there does come a point where you kind of have to cut it off. Like it's well known, even celebrities, they don't even read comments on Twitter because Twitter is a land of just negativity in that aspect of it, and you really can't. It's disheartening, and like people, I remember there was a rapper, I forgot who the rapper was, and it was saying how like celebrities get called out when they're too sensitive about, the comments and the stuff, but then you want them to remain sensitive because that's how you are as an artist. You have to be in touch with your feelings, We tend to be sensitive. So how are we supposed to like not, react in a sensitive way when we're seeing negativity? So it's a very double-edged sword that we live
Especially
in now.
if your art is personal to you. If
Right.
someone attacks it, they're kind of attacking who you are. But speaking of your art, so you're an actor. Why podcasting?
Well, I think I've had a long history of that started back in like 06, 07 where I would do red carpet stuff for the Latino Film Festival that just passed right now. I got hired 12 years ago by their Fusion now. I think they're Fuse right now, but before J-Lo bought it was CTV way back when, and I was hired and they gave me a camcorder and they asked me to do content, and one of it was doing red carpet stuff, so I would do red carpet, and I enjoy interviewing people. I enjoy meeting other artists. I kind of like the process. You build a bond that way, and then my co-host Rachel La Loca, we back in the day did an online radio show called the Bochinche Bueno Show here in Brooklyn, and I think it's again one of my things that I really truly enjoy. It's therapy for me. So to interview some great people that are doing great stuff, I think it's so much fun.
And I think just hanging out with Rachel La Loca is...
She's got to give a shout out. Let's give a shout out to Rachel La Loca.
Yeah, shout out to Rachel.
I understand, and I was doing research
on you today.
It's interesting,
Right?
right.
So I understand that initially she was hesitant, and she was like, "Hey, nobody listens to podcasts. Who's
Yeah.
gonna listen in Rachel voice? In Rachel voice,
right.
who listens to that? Nobody listens to that."
Right.
And
which is true at the time, and it's still. I mean, look, podcast has been around since 2007,
Right.
but it's been major. 99% of it's blanquitos, you know. So I think at the time, a couple of years ago,
that's white people for you guys who didn't
white
understand
people.
I think blanquitos know, they black.
Yeah, blanquitos, yeah.
that. I'm just putting it.
So when I told her, I was like, listen, we should do a podcast, and for her, it represents like she's busy. She has 2 kids. At the time, she only had 1 kid, but she's busy, you know, to deep dive and figure out this podcast world. She said, for what? And when she did the research, she realized quickly, yes, this is a space, especially for Latinos. There are not that many Latino podcasts out
Right,
there.
they're not. But it's funny how she said it, that she just needed to consult with people.
Yeah, and it was her husband.
It was her husband. Like, he didn't read her.
People,
Right.
and he said, yeah, go ahead, do it. She says, okay, so I'm in.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
So if this creative medium weren't it for you, and Michael Diaz, what would you be doing? If you couldn't be an actor, podcaster, or a
Oh, if I wasn't doing any of this,
no, what would you be doing? What was your plan B?
I'd be an accountant.
What?
Because the thing was, when I was a kid, I was really into numbers. I still am into numbers. Like,
I
I'm
thought you wanted to be a
numbers
baseball player and you got cut.
freak. Well, that's some really good research there. I gotta do some social media cleaning. I gotta erase that part of my life. No, originally.
And who cut the Dominican, you said, quote unquote.
Yeah, no, originally I wanted to be a baseball player. I was a huge Met fan.
I won't hold that against
still
you.
am, and I'm still, suffering a lot.
Yankee
Yes. Yankee fans.
I was a Yankee fan too. Look, straight up, I'll tell you right now. I'm a diehard Met fan, and I was a Yankee fan too. But then when they went in the World Series in 2000, and literally they beat us, and then they literally got on the phone and it was like, oh, we're gonna get Mike Mussina. I'm like, the arrogance of like, you just beat us and you're not satisfied. I'm like, yo, come on. So that, but it was that rivalry of us going into it hurt so much. To lose the World Series is one thing since we haven't won in '86, but to lose to the Yankees, that hurt more. That's painful. You know what I mean?
And who's your football team?
Giants.
Be careful. Oh, Lord.
Okay.
We bleed green. I bleed green.
But don't worry, it evens up Knicks. So I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Green.
You know what? It's a New York.
Rangers.
I'm New York all the way.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't matter. As long as you're like in the tri-state area, I'm
Yeah.
okay with you.
Yeah, so
you were
baseball. So it's baseball, and then I was gonna do accounting, but because I'm a big numbers person, I love numbers. I love all that stuff.
you're a
But
nerd.
then in some ways, but then I think the thing about me was, and it's so funny because an article came out yesterday about the representation for Latinos, and so for me, I wanted to get into. John Leguizamo, I watched all his HBO specials.
Love him.
I went to see, I believe, Sexaholic in 01, and then that was really inspiring. And so then my experience again, being the class clown, just being the charlatan, just being the person that made everyone laugh, I sort of wanted to continue that because that's like my drug. So like I think that's something that was always going to make me happy. So that's what got me involved in doing that.
So now that after you grew up,
Have you grown
Through
up?
puberty.
Through puberty?
I'm almost done with puberty.
you're almost there growing
Yes.
up. So now that you're there,
Yes.
what is it that you want to do with the Spanish, with the Latino environment, platform, young
Like, where do you want to
adults?
see it go?
Yeah,
Because we all have to do this for
Absolutely.
our culture. We need to, really step up the pace with that.
Absolutely. Ultimately, is being responsible for creating more Latino characters on television, film, but TV more. I think one of the challenges for Latinos is that you get the opportunity to be on television, but it's not being written by a Latino. And so I think that the challenge now is to have more people behind the scenes that represent us, that have the best intention for us. Oz Rodriguez, who understands that, and that's his mission as well. So I think that that's sort of what my goal is that, I think there's a generation of Latinos. I mean, We have a Dominican from the Bronx is nominated for an Emmy for the Central Park.
Yes,
West
I
End.
know,
Jarrell.
Jarrell.
He's Dominican, 21. He's a baby.
He's
but
amazing. He should get the Oscar too.
Yeah, and so I think when it comes to that, I think that is now where I feel like I want to have that responsibility of creating great roles that have layers, right? Because a lot of times we see Latinos on television and it's just very flat. Like it's, you're not getting to know them, and I think we're humans. And like I said, an article came out yesterday, and it was just discussing the lack of roles. There's only been 3% of leading men and women of the top 100 in the last 10 years that are Latinos. And every time, we live in a time right now that the country sees Latinos and they see immigrants and they see something very negative.
Right.
And they're not, and part of that responsibility is because they're watching TV and they're streaming, and when they see Latino characters, it's not in the best light.
Right.
So if we can have better characters and better individuals that are on the front of the screen that you could see that they're bleed the same way we do, it can progress, and that's what arts does.
And so Lin-Manuel, is he a mentor for you?
He's an inspiration.
Okay.
But I think in every area of Latinos, not just the, what we do, but also that we bring in those, like we had Omar, my son. He's Dominican. He's a prosecutor.
Former prosecutor.
Former prosecutor.
And
And he's doing a lot. He does a lot for the Hispanic community as well. That it's not just it's not just another immigrant or Hispanic that is doing wrong. We have a lot of people, but we have to step up the pace with that in every area.
I was at the Dominican Parade Gala.
Congratulations, and I'm surprised you didn't wear your sash. I was expecting your sash.
I have it, like it's sort of placed somewhere. I have it placed somewhere.
Well, send us a picture of it
I plan
again.
to take it when I go to DR.
On the plane?
Yeah, on the plane, so I can get
Like
like
the-
free
what is it?
Bugal.
The weed on the beach.
Yeah. And so you're right. They not only honored Rachel and I as far as being artists, but they honored everybody. And I think we're now, like I said, I think with the beauty of social media, it allows someone that is a lawyer or a prosecutor, even a firefighter, to have a platform and to inspire, because these kids now, once they're at the age to consume social media, are seeing like, oh my God, because it's true. It's easy to be rapping and music and film, but the other ones where they weren't probably aware that they could see the journey through social media. And I think Dominicans now specifically, but just Latinos in general, we have had a couple generations now, and I think these individuals that are older that became lawyers, then their kids, and so I think we're in a really good time right now where we're inspiring, we're seeing.
This is our time, absolutely. And circling back real quick to what you were saying, you had inspirations, like Lynn, you said he was definitely an inspiration. Manuel, what other people inspired you to just put, not just Dominican, Hispanic on the map?
J-Lo, when she was in Money Train and then Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, I was like an inspiration there. I think Johnny was on it was just that was it. An example of one individual Broadway on a stage. I remember I got like the tickets way up in the nosebleed, and I'm still like crying from laughter. There's been like non-Latinos that really inspire me. I mean, the guy who's in Three's Company, John Ritter with the physical comedy. I really truly enjoy physical comedy. But yeah, Johnny Lozano really was the one that, I mean, obviously the Chavo del Ocho and because it was like, 4 different characters, and
he never aged.
He didn't. So I think it was that. Yeah. But in the time that I really was getting to a point where I wanted to get involved, it was literally him that I was like, that's the guy right there. Right. Because theater is not easy.
So Cantinflas was never one?
No. I mean, I was aware of his
way
work.
Out there, yeah.
Like I wasn't born.
I was -9.
Well, you know that we don't need to be born. Our parents were. That's what they were listening to.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you speak.
That's okay.
But also what's very important is that we need to support our Hispanic people out there. We need to come out to the movies. We need and that are being directed and filmed by Hispanic people. We need to support them. We need to be there. We need to be present, because that is the only way that we're gonna get ourselves out there. So that's very important as well, to just promote us and get our names out there.
But here's the thing. We had a guest on our podcast named Chris Merck, an amazing filmmaker. He had a short film music video about Puerto Rico. He shot it a few months after. He made a really valid point. And then the thing is that Hollywood and just in general, you have different budgets. So you have a budget to shoot it, right? Oh, here, $20 million, shoot your Latino movie.
Right.
The problem is that they don't market it. They don't put the billboards. You know, one day at a time. Had the same situation where they were on Netflix and there was no marketing. So yeah, we'll come out, but they'll throw Star Wars and they'll throw those big franchise movies down our throats.
Right.
We'll know about it 4 or 5 months in advance, and we're programmed. But when it comes to Latino film, barely anything. They don't put enough. So it is true, but sometimes we don't even know a movie would exist to go out and support unless it's on social media and it's within our bandwidth of reaching to it. So it is also something convincing. Again, that comes down to having executives behind the scenes, a Latino in a suit that says, like, look, you need to invest this much money. We need to have them go out there because they take us for granted. Because we do, as consumers, go out and consume a lot.
Yes.
But when it comes to our films, they're like, nah, they'll find out and they go. And then it's like, after one weekend, we don't do too well in the movie theaters, and they're like, all right, straight to streaming. So we definitely need to, but we also have to have that
good marketing,
pushing in the marketing to bring that awareness.
So I wanted to, I guess, in the same line, the same vein that we're discussing, change it a little bit. So you talk about having several loves. One is the Mets.
Yes.
You are
a painful one. That's a painful.
Yeah. Okay. We won't hold that against you. In some way, you're an affiliate, a wine enthusiast.
Yes, I love wine. I love her a lot.
She loves throwing in these Sunday words.
Yeah.
Onophilia. Sunday words. These are words you only use on Sunday when you're trying to impress somebody.
So I'm an ophiliac as well. I'm not a sommelier. I love wine.
Me too.
I love it. So, and in addition to life, you also
You love wine?
You really have different podcasts. So in addition, so you talk a lot about living life, right? And then you talk about politics. I want to take it there for a minute.
Ooh.
You knew
about my community board days.
Yes.
Girlfriend,
one of the shows that you dub as one of your favorites is when you guys interviewed Maria Hinojosa.
Yes.
And, her media company is about promoting Latino growth and changing the negative narrative.
Yes.
Latinos Out Loud follows that as well in terms of, just changing all the negativity.
Yeah.
Given today's political climate, the orange man will remain nameless. How does that fit in? Because there's a lot of negativity being promoted, a lot of issues with immigrants nowadays. There's just a lot of fear mongering. So how does that fit into the work that you're doing, and how does that make it either more difficult or give you more power?
Excellent question. I think the thing again is just controlling the narrative, because we have to understand, like, right now, and it's always been that's been the textbook thing in history, is fear. We need to have fear. We need to have an enemy. We need to get together, and that's what Orange Man does, where he knew he's that type of person that understands, like, they need to have the boogeyman in order to accomplish what they want to accomplish. I think that one of the I saw a film recently that, like, made me tear jerk because it humanized immigrants that are coming, and I think that we need to understand that we're not just Americans, but we're humans. I think that's the craziest thing that I cannot understand in this thing right now. It's like you're not humanizing. Like, we have relatives that are from different countries, and so it's like, how do you make it like that? And I think it's the constant reminder that we're all human beings.
Right.
We don't go to other countries and they're treating us like, So I think for the podcast, for the work that I've done, I did a video, with Vagueando, we did a vote right. Like, we did a video about voting, and so for us, it's constantly using the comedy to invite people's attention because again, in this day and age, like
it's
people
a very
just swiping.
complex political climate.
It is.
Yeah.
But you know what's so crazy? And this is the thing about it, like after 2016, and I noticed it, people tend to forget we're like Latinos are conservatives. Like my family's, like we're conservative.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is that when Orange Man won, people were so surprised that he got a large percentage of Latino votes, but you gotta understand within, like we have, like I'm not shy to say that I have relatives and I'm Dominican that are racist. Right. So it's like one of the things that I spoke about recently with somebody, and I was like, you know how complicated it is? It's like there's racism, right? There's white people that are racist towards that, and
it's
vice
even
versa.
more complicated when it's within your family.
When it's your aunt, when it's your grandma.
Yeah.
So like we tend to like forget that it's happening in our own countries. So when it comes down to it, politics is very, politics, religion are two things that people fight tooth and nail because you just can't change people's minds.
Right.
But if you can humanize and you can have something to relate, because there are people that are Republican, conservative, and that's always been my thing growing up. I've always trying to find what is that common denominator, right? Because you could be conservative, doesn't mean you're bad. It's just that's your philosophy. So I've always found ways that we can relate to others. There's things that we're passionate. Sports does that. You see that we get along, but you're with the Yankees, I'm with the Mets, right? But I think that in our pocket, it's okay. We're the younger brother, like what do you expect? We're always been the younger brother. But I feel like the key is that, we're all humans. We all have loves. And I think that if we continually push on that, then maybe people won't get so distracted with the way that this country's they're manipulating to divide us.
Right.
Because if we're not united.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So, Maria Hinojosa, she's a very influential medium. And so you talk about how, it was very poignant, the interview, and you talk about how it really, it really got to you.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what was it about the things that she said and what she promotes that.
She's so passionate. By the way, her husband's Dominican.
Yeah.
She's so passionate, and as a journalist, you have to be so brave now. Because even especially with social media, like you write something and
people
it strikes a chord.
You.
Yeah, it's because that's what I'm saying. The truth strikes a chord, and so for her, she is so brave. She's just so strong. She's trying to push it out there. She'll call out people because again, there's not that many Latino journalists. And we only have a handful that are out there in that level.
And she's won many awards.
She's pushing it out there. And we need those warriors out there. So when she spoke and how open she was and how transparent she was in front, because we had like 50, 60 people, and it was just, you could feel the electricity that really inspired, because we need that. You have to be brave these days to speak the truth when it comes to journalism. Because then it'll be right away, that's fake news. This is not real, this is that.
Right.
They'll start attacking you for something that has nothing to do with the topic that's being spoken about.
Yeah, it's distraction.
Absolutely.
What do you think about AOC?
AOC, to me, is somebody that struck a chord that I've seen her, every time I see a clip of her, she put the banks on there, the pharmaceutical drugs. She's very polarizing.
People out left and right.
Yeah.
She's very polarizing. The fact that they have a super PAC that's focused just on her, it's really.
She's the one to watch.
She's the one in there. But I feel like, I'm independent. I could say myself, maybe I lean to the left, but with her philosophies and her stuff, remember, she's. How long has she been in office? Not even a year.
And we were watching a documentary on how she ended up winning. Everybody thought the white man, that was a shoe-in, and she came out and blew it out of the box.
Right. So long story short, I really, really, really love her because of how brave she's been. She understands social media. You cannot go back and forth with her on social media. She will bring you down. It's gonna take her time. It's just you gotta give her time. You just can't expect someone who's 28 go in there and all her philosophies are all lined up. Like, this thing takes time. People age. These congressmen or senators that are there now 10 years ago weren't the same way. They all evolved. Look at Joe Biden. Like, Joe Biden from the 40 years worth is like not the same that he is. So for me, I'm a type of person like right away I'm like, oh yeah, like all her stuff, like it takes time for me, like, you know, time in there, but the spirit that she represents, I got people, you know, out there to be like, yes, and calling them out, because that's what's needed. It's like she's the one that calls people out. When she's talking about the banks, they're like, yo, so here you are in 2008, you guys got billions of dollars to save your bank, and now you're investing in in prisons? Like, how are you know what I'm saying? Exactly. She's been the one that when there's hearings, she's the one that's like pulling out receipts. People are too complacent that are her colleagues. So for that, no one can dispute that she is stirring it. And that's what we need. We need more of AOC spirit individuals, because that's who represents us. Yeah. You know, not these politicians that are there. They have millions and millions of dollars funding them, and then when they get there, they just get cozy in DC, and they're not making any change.
Well, we're a big fan of her, and we're big supporters. So we hope to have her on our guest as a guest one day.
For the Latinos that she represents, she also represents people in poverty, people that come up from poverty, people that
the working class.
The average working class that doesn't have that dollar to go.
But especially the women, I love it
women,
because I am, you know, I'm all for girl power, and
absolutely.
To me, across the board. And now changing gears a little bit. Ooh. So, as podcasters, we identify as a Dominican podcast.
Yes.
Okay, and initially that was something that we kind of struggled with a little bit because, you know, we some of us thought maybe we were narrowing down too much. And it was, but I've always believed in niching down. And I felt that there was a void in the podcasting world for people with voices, with our voices.
Right.
And so when I found you guys, Latinos Out Loud, you guys are an inspiration.
Thank you.
And you don't shy away from your Dominicanness.
Right.
And that's what I love about you guys. So can you tell us a little bit about the process with Latinos Out Loud? Like, how did you guys find your stride? Like, for starting podcasts like
Very
us.
difficult. It's tough when you're starting, because you are, especially in the podcast industry right now, like I said, like it's not, especially for us, it's not something that there's a blueprint that you can go by, because the podcast game is ever changing. There's different different genres and different styles. Like, you just don't do a podcast and say, "Great, this is it." You know, like online radio, when it was online radio back then, you played music, you did your segments. It mirrored radio. People who want to listen to podcasts don't want that. They want the naturalness. So I think for us, when we first started, we started up in the Heights. We were part of a podcast startup network. We knew that we had the chemistry already, because obviously all of us have known each other for at least 15 years. Right. So that part was fine. But we were learning how to walk again in the podcast world, in that, you know, we try to create a structure and try to create a rhythm that, you know, it takes. I mean, you guys are 4, so it's the same with us. So sometimes it's learning and pacing and understanding and the styles and everything. Honestly, I think it takes, as much as it sounds, like 50, 60 episodes, because you're doing that muscle. I mean, when you take a break, like we're coming back in a couple of weeks, and we know probably that first episode's been a while, we're gonna be like, all right, shake it off. But it takes a while to get that, because again, talking on a mic and being engaging is not an easy thing. And so I think that we've learned through time learning that. So, and again, Latinos, we consume a lot of technology, but when it comes to podcasts, we're underserved as far as podcasts out there, but the awareness of it. Right. So I think you mentioning niche, listen, we thought that we were too Dominican in the beginning. And then we started getting people in the West Coast, people from Wisconsin, Mexican or Salvadorian, and they're like, no, we love that about you. Right. So, because you know, there's always a point in time like, should we tone it down? Should we tone it down a little bit? And it's like, no.
Which part, the mango or the salami?
All of it.
But it's the realness that really attracts people.
Yeah, because again, like the more niche you become, the more, it's the craziest thing. They say that even when it comes to comedy, the more specific you get, the more broad you are. So I think that's something for us. It's like, yo, we this is who we are, you
It's
know?
authenticity and people
Yes,
like that.
and that's so important when it comes to podcasts. If you're doing a podcast,
And genuineness.
yeah, if you're doing a podcast and you're literally looking at listening to other podcasts or doing a podcast and you're trying to carbon copy it, you're taking it away. You have to make it your own.
Yeah, we're far from
Yeah, the whole nipple thing wasn't part of the script.
Yeah, no, the whole
nipple thing wasn't
that
part
goes
of
back.
That was
back to one of our podcasts.
That's my nipples.
No, that goes back to one of our
full
podcasts.
circle back to one
because that's what, right?
I'm about to start a Twitter page.
Nipples.
Let's not talk about nipples. Because
Yes.
they ganged up on me.
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, sausage nipples over there. So what's next for Juan Bago?
Yeah.
What's next for him? I feel like I'm talking in third person since I'm Michael Diaz and it's like
Yeah.
Juan Bago.
Do you forget that you're Michael Diaz? That's your name, and do you ever introduce yourself as Juan
You know,
Bago?
well again, when in the gala, when I got the thing that says Michael Diaz on it, and I'm like, putting stuff on, I'm like, oh my God, it is true. Like Michael Diaz, like I don't hear it as much as like obviously 10, 15 years ago. But I don't know. For me, what's next? I mean, again, I'm working right now, currently working on pre-production for a parody. I got a parody song that's going to be coming out, but I also have a parody that I'm doing that's a popular TV show, and I'm working on that. And I feel like every year I need to do like a parody that I can share with them. Last year was the DR Dominican Ninja that was making fun of American Ninja.
Yeah.
So this year is a popular Netflix show that I want to do.
I loved your Game of Thrones.
Yes, Gente Thrones. Shout out to Anthony Palmini, who is like, he's like the dude that does the scoring, he does the voiceover, he does the editing, he does the graphic, he does everything. And so when he first initially told me about it, I had not watched Game of Thrones yet. So I'm like,
What? All right, that's it. Conversation.
Originally.
You're good. It took me a
Then I
while.
binged, and I'm like, yo, we doing this. So we did the Gente Thrones after I watched. I was like, yo, we're gonna do it. But again, that's something. So in long story short, back to season 6 in the podcast, and I'm gonna be doing some short form stuff, and then eventually, God willing, like I can sell a TV show. Like that's what I want. That's my passion right now. That
We'll
I
be
want to
there.
do.
Well, if you ever have a shortage of like Hispanic
Actors.
We're extras.
Extras.
No,
We'll be the twerkers in the back.
No, of course.
Yeah.
The twerkers, I have
We'll be the
to. I have to
twerkers
brush
in the
up on my
back.
twerking.
Yeah,
then.
well, don't worry.
So now
We certainly have the
now
booties
we know-
for that.
Now we know that you have a split personality. So
I do.
should we expect something from
Michael Diaz. What is Michael Diaz working on?
Is Michael Diaz like Juan Bago?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm the serious. Like Michael Diaz, I like joke. There was actually an article like 5-6 years ago that was like that, like Michael Diaz and Juan Bago. Michael's more of the networking, bringing people together.
Is he the accountant?
Yeah, I guess the numbers guy, but more on that is the people that brings people together. I love bringing people together. I love networking. I like creating new partnerships and stuff.
and
because
we
I
want to
feel like,
thank you for that. We want to thank you.
so
for
I
that.
love that. That's my thing. Like I think that's an asset. That's something where when you can bring people together and they create something that to me has a bond and everything, and everybody wins in that.
Okay.
That's
okay.
awesome. Well, we want to shout out the Godcast.
Yep.
Actually, before we close out, because they had an event last week and they blew us away.
SB Eatery
Yes.
and Pablo's Cooking, it was amazing.
Amazing.
The hospitality was,
These kids are young, so they're really they're really impressive.
and their hospitality was amazing. The crowd embraced us, they embraced us, it was
Latinos
Awesome.
supporting Latinos.
Yes.
That's right.
Anyways, thank you, Juan Bago /
Thank
Michael
you.
Diaz.
Thank you, ladies.
Joining
Notice how you said Juan Bago first, and then Michael Diaz.
If you guys want to follow Juan Bago, he's on Instagram. He's also one of the hosts of Latinos Out Loud.
We are
Yes.
Latinos.
And yeah, we are
We are
Latinos Out Loud on
Well,
Instagram.
Latinos Out Loud was taken, so we did We Are Latinos.
We are.
Rachel was like, wait, I got one.
Wow.
We are Latinos Out Loud.
Well, we'll include all the information in the
Yes.
show. All right. So show us some love by writing a review and rating us on Pandora, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Follow us on social media and share us with your friends. Consider becoming a patron if you want the real cafecito, the behind-the-scenes exclusives.
And today was
we
good.
got some juice.
Anyway, guys, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
This is family.
This is
We're
family.
your
I'm so
family.
proud of you ladies.
Thank
Again,
you.
I'm like really, really proud. We need podcasts like yours in this space and continue your success.
We plan to make you proud of us.
And we have some Malbec for you for the end.
Yeah, and we're
Yes.
gonna come. And we're
Or
gonna,
lime,
and we're
not
gonna
that.
come for your award this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, no hookah. We don't have
Watch
a
out.
hookah.
No.
No, he became addicted. He's done with the hookah.
I'm done with hookah. Those days are over.